Okay, gang. I don't know if you can even see me. She's so much shorter. I got it set up for her. So, welcome back to Educating the Modern. This is my friend Beth.
Hey.
And she says making apple butter is really stinking easy. So, we're going to let her show us how it's done.
Awesome.
So, I'll be behind the camera mostly. Enjoy. And let's make some apple butter.
Let's go.
There got to be a better way than this. Very nice.
Alright, cool. So, I feel like Nigella Lawson or something.
I don't even know who that is.
She's one of those cook people on TV. Maybe Martha. So, I start out with just a variety of apples. I've got some Granny Smith, I've got some Gala apples. These look like Golden Delicious, you know, whatever. Whatever you have. I get a box of veggies from a local farm, so I usually get a lot of apples this time of year. And some of them go bad, but they're okay. You just cut that out and then use it. So I used to use my little apple corer and cut these and peel them all by hand, but then Amazon was my friend and sent me this cool little thing. So this guy just, let's see, how's this work?
Oh, come on, it's 10% rule.
Seriously.
You got to be 10% smarter.
Just 10% smarter?
10% smarter than the tool you're working with.
Okay. So you stick it on here, it's got this little peeler guy, and it just, oh my gosh, isn't that beautiful? I love this thing.
What's the name brand on that, in case people want to?
Victoria or Victorio. I mean, and it was cheap. It was like $15, $16 or something on Amazon. So, and check that out. Isn't that beautiful? Look, how cool is that? My kids love to eat those things. They like to peel them just because they're fun. So I peel all of them, and then I put all the peels and the cores into my juicer because you need some liquid in your apple butter. It's going to cook down, and you can cook it as long as you want in the crock pot, which is what we're going to do. We're going to stick it in the crock pot and then let it cook overnight with all the spices and seasonings and all that kind of stuff. And then I can it. You can just eat it however you want to do that. But you do need some liquid, and depending on how you can, if you have too much liquid, you just let it cook a little bit longer and let the liquid cook down until it's the consistency that you want. So, how cool is that? That's got a little bit of peel. You don't want the peel on it because it's a little, it may cause your apple butter to have lumps in it.
And I'm guessing you don't want the core in there.
No seeds in apple butter. I don't know. Something about that's just not very appealing. Alright. And so this kind of takes a while. It's tedious.
So I'll pause the video and we'll come back to it.
There you go.
So what we're doing here, the reason for this is because why throw away all these scraps? Go ahead and use them to make the juice to cook in.
Right. Yeah.
But now what if somebody didn't have that juicer? You just say, if they didn't have a juicer or a means of getting all this, just go ahead and add water?
Yeah, just add water or some apple juice. You can add some apple juice to it. You could probably add other kinds of juices if you wanted to add a different flavor to it.
Ooh, like maybe orange juice, apple butter.
Yeah. I mean,
that might taste good.
It might. It really might. So you can kind of play around with it once you get the hang of it. I would probably be exiled from my own home if I did anything at all to my apple butter because my family would disown me. But but if you're so inclined and your family won't disown you for ruining the apple butter, do whatever you want. Alright, so I got a full container of juice. I'm just going to pour it in here. And I will fill up this crock pot with apples and the juice of all of those apples, and it'll be overflowing probably, but I want to fill it all the way, but by the time it's done cooking, it'll be about half that size. And the other thing too, in the interest of time saving, if you have like a few apples that are going bad and you don't want to get rid of them, you can just peel them and stick them in the freezer. And then when you are ready to make your apple butter, if you don't have a juicer, you can just stick the meat of the apples in like a blender or something and use that for your juice. Or if you have a juicer, just take them, let them thaw out, and stick them in the juicer, so you're not wasting, so you can't waste apples. So instead of letting them go bad, stick them in the freezer.
Can't understand how long it takes.
Yeah.
Well, how are you gonna make that fit?
Well, it's gonna cook down very, very quickly. But I'm gonna just mash it a little bit. So within a few hours, it'll be cooked down. You just want to get all the liquid down inside of it. I usually don't fill it up quite this much, but this is okay. All right, so we're gonna stick it in the crock pot and turn it on. I usually turn it on high and it cooks pretty fast. And then the seasonings, when it cooks down, we'll use the food processor and zip it all up so it's nice and creamy. And put the seasonings in and mix them all in at the same time. Now, if you do a good job of picking your apples, you don't need a whole lot of sugar. So my recipe calls for 2 cups, and I don't usually ever put even more than half a cup of sugar in it. So, but you need a good variety of apples so you have good flavor. So we'll cook it.
So about how long before?
Should be done 12, 18 hours, something like that, depending on how much you have. And you'll know they'll be all mushy, and it'll be you'll see. You'll see. I'll show you tomorrow. All right, so this has been sitting here for about 12 to 8, maybe 18 hours, and it's all mushy. It's like applesauce. It actually is applesauce. So that big pot requires at least 12 hours to cook down into applesauce. And but you can leave it for longer than 12 hours. I mean, it's not going to burn in the crock pot if you just turn it on warm and leave it until you have a chance to can it, if you're going to can it. Or you could also freeze this in some freezer boxes and then use it when you're ready. But the canning part is very easy. I think you have something on there already about how easy canning is, right?
I'll put a link right here.
Okay. All right, so our seasonings are allspice, cloves, and cinnamon, and a little bit of sugar. So I start with a very small amount of sugar, like 1/4 cup. I don't like my apple butter to be too sweet. So in the apples that I use such a variety of apples that it's got a pretty intense flavor. And I'll put even a little bit less than 1/4 cup, kind of sprinkle it on top. Because you can always add more sugar, but you cannot take sugar away. Now this pot requires 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, and I make it heaping because cinnamon is yummy and good for you too, right? All right.
I hear those people with the cinnamon challenge would beg to differ.
Yeah, well, they're not the smartest. Yeah. Anyway, I hope none of y'all are cinnamon challenge people. All right, and a teaspoon of ground cloves. Again, I do a heaping, maybe even heaping a little bit more. I wonder if cloves do the same thing as cinnamon when you're try to eat it plain.
Let's not find out.
Oh, let's not. I have no desire. All right, and a 1/2 teaspoon. Again, a 1/2 heaping teaspoon of allspice. Okay. So you just dump all that in there. And then I have this really groovy little hand mixer thing. It's got several different adapters. It's got a whisk adapter and all kinds of stuff. But this is the food processor adapter, and this thing is great. So I just run it through, kind of tilt it a little bit until it's nice and smooth and all the seasonings are mixed in. Like that. You don't want to do that. So at this point, you can tell if it needs a little bit to be a little bit thicker. You can taste it, make sure it's got enough sugar. It does, plenty of sugar. If it needs a little bit more time or needs to be a little bit thicker, you can let it sit and cook down a little bit longer, and it'll just, the liquid will evaporate and it'll be thicker. Or you can can it at this point, or you can just eat it and or freeze it. And this will stay in this state if you put it in warm on your crock and in the crock pot. You can. I've had to leave it for a couple of days before I had a chance to actually can it, and it's fine. It will not burn. That's the thing that you're concerned about with apple butter, is if it cooks too long, it will burn. But it won't burn in the crock pot. So, there you are. And then when you're all done, you have apple butter. It's a great gift. This is what everybody gets from me for Christmas. That's it.
All right, let's try some.
Okay, let's do.
Okay, make some toast.
Yeah. Okay.
Good appetit.
Uh-huh. Delish. Very good.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And you said the original recipe called for 2 full cups? Mm-hmm. No way.
It doesn't need 2 cups.
Not at all.
So
then that was roughly probably about, I don't know, 20 apples?
yeah, probably so.
Probably about 20 apples. Mm-hmm. And then how you ended up putting about a quarter of a cup.
A little bit less than a quarter of a cup of sugar. 2 tablespoons of cinnamon.
Yeah, 2 heaping tablespoons.
Heaping tablespoons, which is probably 2.5 or 3. But and then a heaping teaspoon of cloves and a heaping half teaspoon of allspice. Like I was telling you before, you can start with pre-made applesauce. If you want to start with that, that's all you're doing. The first step is making applesauce. So
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
won't be as good.
I've heard that it was very easy, and you see, it really was. We just cut up the stuff, put it in, let it cook down, and then seasoned it, and used the food processor, and that's it. You got apple butter. Now you're ready to can it.
Ready to can it. If you don't have a hand food processor, put it in a blender.
Yeah.
A blender will be better than a food processor bowl thing because you won't be able to fit as much in there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but a blender would work just fine. I'm going to cook this down a little bit because it's a little thinner than I like, so I'm going to let it cook for
Cook a little bit more.
another day and probably until tomorrow. Can it?
Well, are you ready for the goodbye process?
Oh yeah.
Thanks for watching Educating the Modern, and from Beth Thompson and myself, you're welcome.
You're welcome. I was like, what am I supposed to say? Let's try it again.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so thanks for watching this episode of Educating the Modern, and from Beth Thompson and myself, you're welcome.